Hello everyone, thanks for checking out today's video and welcome to my channel, Jersey Shore Pondscapes Videos. My name is Chris. We have a ton of videos here for you on this channel all about koi ponds, water gardens, pond filtration, pond fish, aquatic plants, design, construction, maintenance, the whole bit. There's a whole bunch of videos here and you can find them all in the playlists. So if you're looking for something a little quicker, a little easier, go to the playlist and you can navigate your way through a little bit easier. But yes, thank you for checking out the video today. If you're new to the channel, take some time, take a look around. There's a ton of videos here for you. And you know, please subscribe and hit the like button if you're into this stuff, because I've got a ton of stuff here for you and I appreciate your support. So today's video, we are basically going to be talking about heaters for your pond, all right? So there's all kinds of heaters that are available for ponds for the winter. Now, depending on where you live and what your climate is, you may or may not actually need a heater. But for those of us that are in colder climates, heaters are a good thing to have for the pond. Now, that being said, I really feel that the most important thing that you can put into your pond for the winter is an air system, okay? Some aeration. And you want to keep that aeration closer to the top than on the bottom, okay? Rather than on the bottom. Reason being, in the summer, we want our air stones down to the bottom. And when those air stones are running on the bottom of the pond, they're pulling the water from the bottom of the pond and they're pulling it all the way up to the surface, okay? It really circulates that entire body of water, providing a lot of oxygen that's needed, especially when the water is warmer, all right? In the winter, cold water holds more dissolved oxygen than warm water does. So while aeration is a little bit less important in the winter, all right, and your fish's metabolism slows down and they're not, you know, taking in as much oxygen either, it's still important that we provide air. If your pond freezes over for an extended period of time, we don't have a gas exchange occurring between the water and the air above it. So it's really good to provide oxygen, you know, under the ice, you know, inside that pond in the winter. Now, the reason why I want to keep the air stones up higher in the water column, you know, during the winter is basically because as the pond is sitting, the ground is warmer than the air on top. So the ground is actually insulating the water in the bottom of your pond somewhat, all right? So by taking that warmer water on the bottom and bringing it all the way up to the top through the air stones, we're actually cooling the water more than it would be if it just sat there, all right? However, we are providing some beneficial oxygen, all right, that we do need in the pond. But I would rather bring those air stones at least halfway up in the water column. Maybe if you have a shelf in the pond, something like that, you know, bring those air stones up higher. Don't leave them on the very bottom. And it only makes sense, right, that your fish during the winter when it's really cold lay on the bottom and your ice forms on the top. All right. If it was warmer up top, your fish would probably come up top, but it's not, so the fish go down deeper. Okay. So that all being said, heaters are a great supplement to your air system. All right. Now, a lot of my clients have heaters, but not all. And my clients that don't have heaters really are not missing it, at least in our area. Our winters can be a mix of weather. We can have some days that are in the 40s, and we can have a week straight where it's below freezing. So we're kind of in and out of freezing cold weather here. I tell most of my clients, if you have a heater, don't just plug it in like, you know, like in December and leave it plugged in until March. There's no reason to do that. Your air stones will keep a hole open in the ice through a large portion of the winter. Only when the ice starts to form a little dome over the boil from the air stones, from the aeration, that I'd say plug in a heater. And I usually like to keep the heater close to the air stones, okay, close to where that boil is on the surface. Now, when we do plug in the heaters in the winter, being close to these air stones that's circulating that water, the air is coming up and the water is circulating all over the top, a heater will generally open a rather large hole in the ice, okay, which is great. Now, the whole purpose of a heater is not to heat your pond water. Okay, you're not going to heat your pond with a little thing like this. Okay, I mean, maybe if you have a little 100-gallon pond, but if you have 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 gallon pond, this little thing is not going to heat the pond. All right, its main purpose is to keep a hole open in the ice, and that hole, the purpose of that hole is to allow that gas exchange. Okay, as any kind of plant matter, fish waste, whatever debris is in the pond and rotting, okay, it gives off gases. So if those gases can't escape, they get trapped under a solid sheet of ice, they start to build up and it becomes toxic, and that can actually do more harm to your fish in the winter than the cold water. Okay, so by keeping that hole open, all right, we're allowing some gas to escape and air in. Okay, just a little air exchange. Again, for me, my air stones will do that through the majority of the winter, and we only turn our heaters on when we really need it. All right, now most of these heaters do have their own built-in thermostats. So they basically, they say, well, they won't come on if the water is not below a certain temperature. I don't know how accurate that is. All right, all I know is that heaters like this draw a lot more power than an air pump does. So to have this plugged in unnecessarily all winter long is going to cost you money, and it's not needed. All right, so again, depending on the climate in the area that you live, right, will depend on how much or how little you need a heater. Always, like I said, remember the main thing is it's not going to heat your pond, it's just going to keep a hole open in the ice. Now that being said, okay, some of my clients have said, oh, I don't have a heater, but when my pond froze over, I went out with a hammer and I broke through the ice. Don't do that. All right, do not do that. All right, when you're striking that ice with a hammer, those shock waves are going through that water, and sound is amplified in water. Okay, now picture this: your fish are almost in a really dormant stage. Your metabolism is really slow, they're not moving around very much, the water's ice cold. All right, and all of a sudden, bang, 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 you're breaking through the ice with a hammer. Okay, yeah, not good for the fish. All right, don't do that. All right, buy a heater. If your pond is frozen over and you don't have a heater, you go out and buy a heater, something like this, right? It has an element right on the bottom. The heating part is right on the bottom. Just plug this in and just sit it right on top of the ice, and it won't take long for this to melt a hole right through. Okay, now some heaters, okay, like this, are maybe 1,000 watts, some maybe 1,250 watts, some are 1,500 watts. Okay, obviously depending on the size of your pond, what size heater to get. If you have a large pond, 5,000, 7,000, 10,000 gallons, yeah, get a nice big heater. Get the 1,500 watt one, right? But for all average ponds, you just want to keep a hole open. 1,000 watts are fine. All right. There are some heaters, like you can see a picture up here, that basically look like a little donut, all right, and they have like a donut hole in the middle. They're very low wattage. They use very little power, all right. Their whole purpose is just to keep that hole open in the middle of the donut. All right, most of these heaters are not going to open up a big area of ice in your pond. It's only going to keep that little hole open in the center, in the middle of the heater, in that little donut hole. All right, but it is allowing gases to escape through that. All right, I'm not a fan of those. I just feel like if you're going to get a heater, get a heater. Get something that's going to open up a big section of water in your pond. Now, another thing that I have noticed, and I may be wrong, but I just have noticed it, that a lot of my clients who have these heaters and leave them plugged in all winter, when I go open the pond, you know, up in March or early April, the water is pea soup green. So, I mean, it is heating your pond water a little bit. You know, it's not going to keep, you know, your pond at, you know, 65 degrees over the winter. It's not going to do that. But it might provide some energy, so to speak, for algae growth. All right? Because I have noticed that some ponds that have heaters running all winter long are really pea soup green when it comes to the spring. Other than that, right? It's pretty basic. So do you need one? Most likely, absolutely not, unless you are in an extreme cold environment. But keeping, you know, that hole open in the ice is really important for the winter. Now, some of my clients who don't have pond heaters, and we have, you know, a spell of weather where it is, you know, extremely cold for a week or so, and the ice starts to grow and form a dome and conceal up the pond and cover over that dome over my air stones, over that boil. It hasn't seemed to have been a problem because you still have oxygen, you still have air movement in the pond under the ice. However, you know, to be able to open up that ice, and hopefully, you know, within a few days it warms up and the ice starts to thaw out a little bit, and we have that air exchange that's even better. I think my main point is basically the fact that, you know, the main purpose of a heater is not to heat your pond, it's to keep a hole open to allow gases to escape. And if our air stones can do that through most of the winter, that's the most important thing, because you're keeping that hole open and you're providing aeration, where a heater does not provide aeration. All right, so like I said, there's all kinds of heaters out there, but for the most part they're all going to do the same thing. I don't trust the thermostats on them. I will plug them in when I need them. I will unplug them when I don't need them. And you know, I've had a lot of success over the years doing just that. All right, so I hope that shed a little light on this whole topic of pond heaters. And you know, some heaters like this, they even come with, you can buy separately, like a cage that goes around them, which is a good thing if you have a bare pond liner. Okay, you don't want this thing, the element, to sit up against the pond liner. It does get rather hot. All right, now in the water helps to keep it cooler so it's not burning hot, but still you don't want this thing up against a pond liner. So what I typically do to keep these things kind of tethered in place in the pond so that the wind doesn't drift it up against the sides is either I'll string the cord through a netting, if I have netting over my pond for the winter, to help, you know, protect it from herons and keep it clean. I'll just string the cord through the netting, you know, a certain part, you know, 2-3 feet out into the pond, just so that it stays right there. Or we can tie a string here on the cord itself and, you know, kind of tether it. You know, tie one string on the end of the pond over there, tie the other string on the pond over there, and this thing will kind of just be tied right in the middle. Okay, but keep it in the area of your air stones. This way it's going to circulate more water and heat, you know, open up a bigger hole. All right, other than that, they're pretty simple. So thanks for watching the video. Please hit the like button if it helped you out. Subscribe to the channel if you're into all this koi pond stuff, and you know, if something you're looking to design or build a koi pond, you need some advice, you need some help, you've got a lot of questions, I've got a ton of videos for you. You know, and even if you have a pond and you want to learn a little bit more, there's something you're not sure about, you know, hopefully I might have a video here that can help you out. All right. So thanks very much for watching, and hopefully we'll see you back soon. Take care. Have a great day. Bye.